What's up, mortgage coach community? Dave Savage sitting down with Michelle Castle just outside of Dallas, Texas. What's up, Michelle?
Hi, just working,
Just
doing
work.
loans.
How far out of Dallas are you? About like 45 minutes?
Oh no, a little bit. Well, an hour, a
Okay.
good hour, a solid hour.
Okay. So 15 minutes more than 45.
Okay, I know, but it sounds yeah.
A solid hour, an hour and 15 minutes. It sounds like.
Hey, that's loan officer math, Dave. I'm rounding up.
Well, I also get the feeling like it's totally different. Like it's an hour and it is
A different world.
a different planet. Got it. Yeah. Well, I just got back from Austin. I was in Austin last week and had a blast. I mean, although I can say this for every place in Texas, like the people are awesome. People are great. So anyways, good to be rapping with you. I know we're going to talk about something that I think's on everybody's mind. At least I've been hearing that emotions have never been higher with buyers. I've been hearing that rate shopping is increasing. I've heard it anywhere from crazy intense to, yeah, it's increasing, but not that bad. So if you are listening to this, I'd love to know where do you sit? Are you seeing a pretty dramatic increase in rate shopping and just low rates out there? So this was your idea, Michelle. Why don't you put a little color around why you thought this would be a good topic today?
I really feel there are some days that I'm more of a therapist than I am a loan officer or a loan advisor. Because for an example, I had a lady in my office yesterday, she just felt so defeated. She had sold her house thinking no big deal. I'll sell my house. I can't make it, I can't buy a house contingent upon the sale of my house. So I just need to sell my house and I'll go stay at my sister's pool house with my kids for a couple of weeks until I find a house. It's been a couple of months. Right. And she's made offer after offer after offer. And she's just ready to give up, to the point where she bought a school bus that she's just going to redo, boho out, and she and her kids are going to live in a school bus on a friend's piece of land. Now, remember, I'm Texas, so yes, you could possibly do that. But that's how defeated she was. That's how emotional she is. She's in my office just crying about the frustration of being beat out time after time after time to cash offers. And so that's why I say, managing emotions is really what I feel like we're doing more now than ever to help people stay in the game.
So if we were in a big audience right now and say, hey, raise your hand if you're feeling Michelle's story, and who's got a better story than that? Like this isn't an individual first-time home buyer that's like, hey, I'm going to do van life. This is like a mother with kids who's like, we're going to do bus life. So that's pretty next level of challenge. So are you feeling the pain? Let us know down below, even if you're watching the recording. And I think the pain, tell me if this is right, there's almost two battles to fight as an originator. You've got to win the bidding war. And if you're involved, that means the family doesn't have cash and you need to help differentiate. So you're not even a loan officer, you're winning the bidding war specialist. And so you're doing that job. And then when they get the deal, they're rate shopping. And whether they want to be or not, if they're on Facebook, we all know how it is. If we just say a word in our house now, it starts showing up on our thread. Mm-hmm. So even if they're not rate shopping, they're getting, and I'm not going to say the brands who use social media intensely, but we know who they are. Mm-hmm. And they do have low rates. And now they're pushing those rates into Facebook feeds, Instagram feeds. Every time that family does a search on Google, they're getting a super low rate put in their face. And so we've got two battles. We got to win the bidding war, and then we got to win the grind. Is that fair enough?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. So let's break down your playbook for doing that. And you know who the community is here. You're a coach, you're a teacher, like coach us up.
So, just like in this situation, when I was meeting with her, strategy matters. And I think that our clients need to know, and our agents need to know, that we're in it to win it. And the strategies that we help them, the strategies that we present to them is based on winning. Like, here's where we want to go, and this is how I'm going to help you get there. So it's not about, how much money. I mean, it's not just your typical questions. How much money do you want to, spend out of pocket to get into the home? And what do you want your monthly payments to be? It's like, if you want this house in this price range, this is how we're going to have to set this up to make it work. And we need to go ahead and prepare. This is how we hope that it plays out. This is how it might play out once the appraisal comes in. And this is worst case scenario if we get a really bad appraisal. So covering all of those different scenarios and helping people talk through those scenarios, I think helps them overcome the fears that, listen, no matter which of these 3 plans we have to execute on, it's going to be okay. I know Michelle and her team have got my back, and we're going to figure out how to make sure that we win. Does that make sense?
It does. So really it's managing emotions and expectations during the bidding wars, preparing people for the bidding wars is where it's at. Hey, I forgot to ask at the beginning of this, but because there are folks that haven't heard you before, they don't realize what kind of production you do. How many loans are you guys closing right now? Like, what is your production?
So, right now, we're at 30 to 40 units this year. Last year was a great year. Wasn't it a great year for everybody? And so whenever I think of production numbers, it's like, throw out 2020, because really.
Well, and by the way, you can throw it out. What was 2020?
Okay, we were right under 500 units last year in 2020.
So a very experienced team, dealing with a lot of families. That means dealing with a lot of problems at scale. So anyways, I just wanted to make sure folks realized, the kind of production you and your team do.
Yeah. We see our fair share of challenges, really.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. The more loans, more problems.
Exactly. So, okay, give us the playbook. So I got high level what you're telling families, like, hey, if you want to get this home in this price range, this is what you're going to do. And then what?
Well, I think that it's really important for us, I mean, we're staying really close to what's going on in the different price ranges, because obviously if you're looking for a first time home buyer price range versus where there's a lot of investors also picking up those properties with cash transactions, that conversation is totally different than, so in our area, that's really 250 and under. But if we're looking at a $500,000 or $600,000 house, that's, we don't have quite as many buyers in our area in that price range. So really looking at the data and being able to relay to the client what to expect to have to pay whenever you are buying in the different price ranges. So going ahead and letting them know, listen, this house is it's on the market for $250. You're probably going to have to pay, offer to pay $275. But before we even throw that out there, for me, it's picking up the phone and calling the realtor and making sure the realtor is really finding out what are the seller's needs. Like, we could throw out numbers all day long, but at the end of the day, winning the contract is knowing the rules of the game. And then also, it's like, if I were to go play, and I'm fixing to go play in a big game, right? I'm going to go scout out the opponent and find out where the strengths and the weaknesses and what it takes to win the game. It's the same thing in the market that we're in right now. So my opponent, you got your seller. And then I also know my opponents are these cash offers. So knowing and understanding the rules of the game and all the players in the game is how we help to set people up to win. So my TCAs aren't always just about the numbers. My TCAs are going to help tell the story. Dave, did you go somewhere?
I'm here. Here.
So part of my playbook is picking up the phone and having conversations and making sure the realtors are paying attention and to have conversations with the seller's agents before they just throw numbers together on a contract. Then I can set up my TCA based on that.
Love it. So let's go through the playbook.
Okay.
So we know we're going to compete with cash offers. So we just know, that. Are you actually calling the listing agent, or are you talking to your agent? Are you talking to the listing agent multiple times, like one to prepare your strategy and then another one to give them confidence about your buyer? Or are you just calling them one time? And what does that
I'm
sound like?
just calling one time. I'm calling the buyer's agent to coach the buyer's agents up to have the conversation with the listing agents.
Okay, so you're providing leadership to your buyer's
Right.
agents, and then you're calling the listing agent yourself. What percentage of the time are you getting the listing agent on the phone and they're cool with having a conversation with you?
I don't have any issues getting the listing agent on the phone, but I think it's really important that whenever you're texting or emailing or leaving a voicemail for the listing agent, you leave the property address. So I lead with the property address. I don't call and say, hey, I'm Michelle Castle with Guild Mortgage, because I don't care.
Right.
What they want to know is, hey, I'm calling about 123 Belden Street. This is Michelle Castle. I need you to call me back right away about that listing.
Boom. By the way, is that really your script right there?
Really, that's my
Yeah.
script.
So
And whenever you text in your email, you're calling on, you're calling about that listing.
So by the way, that was a huge nugget, because I've interviewed a lot of loan officers and I'm hearing pretty mixed, like, oh, I can't get any listing agents on the phone, to 50-50. I'm not hearing, oh, I'm talking to every single listing agent. And part of that, guys, listen to this. I mean, she's well known in her local market. Probably a big percentage of people know her, like her, respect her. But that script is pure gold. Starts with the property. It's important that we talk. Call me. Boom. And also an important note there, guys. Notice she didn't give too much information. She gave enough information that you need to call me, but not so much information that they can kind of like prioritize this and decide to dismiss it. So pure gold. Thank you for that. What else are you doing in that conversation that you think others could get value from?
So whenever you're talking to the sellers, again, every state's got their contracts are different, but it's basically the same. Occupancy matters. A lot of these sellers they've got to sell their house to buy a new one. So knowing and understanding when the seller needs to sell, our expectation is they want to close quick. Guess what? If you take a poll of your sellers, they don't care about the quick closing because they still got to go find a house. So just asking those questions, when is it that your seller would like to close? Do you need a quick closing or do you need an extended closing? Because that's all information when you're managing expectations to the buyer and setting the buyer up for realistic expectations. You got to know what the seller's expectations are too. And then, you've got anything that is a fear or concern for the seller, then what is it that my buyer can offer to overcome those fears or concerns? And if it equates to dollars or equates to timelines, then I need to know that information so that whenever I'm setting up I'm structuring the loan and putting together a strategy so that the buyer wins, the seller's got to feel like they won too. And so anything that affects timing for the buyer and anything that affects the dollars for the buyer, I need to know about so I can put my TCA together that matches that. And then again, based on this information, this is best case scenario. All right, so the sellers accepted your offer. What if the house doesn't appraise? Let's go ahead and talk through those scenarios too. So if anything happens during this loan process and we have to engage plan B or plan C, you're already prepared.
What percentage of the time are you having the appraisal gap conversation TBD, before they're in escrow to get them clear? What percentage of your buyers are you doing that with?
We're preparing them on every one of our buyers because I can't expect, if people are paying over list price, I can't expect the house is going to appraise.
Got it. So takeaway for everyone, she's calling every listing agent. Killer script. If you just joined us and you haven't watched all this, make sure you listen to the whole call, because her script for getting agents to call her back, listing agents to call her back, is pure gold. And then you're doing a TCA appraisal gap with everyone so that they're ready for plan A, B, or C. And that is getting that buyer to make the best offer they're willing to make. Hopefully it's a winning offer, but it's the best offer. And do you believe that if you didn't do this appraisal gap TCA, they would not be making as big of offers, and they would not have as much chance of winning the bidding war.
Right. And I'd have a greater chance of them canceling the transaction after the fact because they're shocked about the fact it didn't appraise. And now what are they going to do to come up with the extra money? And that's what I'm trying to prevent. You know, if you read the book with 7 Habits of Effective or Highly Effective People, number 1 is being proactive. To me, setting people up for a plan A, B, and C is being proactive. I'm managing emotions by setting the expectations that this is what we hope happens, but this could happen. And if that happens, are you guys going to be okay? And where are you going to get the extra money from?
So for any branch manager listening to this, I would hope that you get the takeaway that I need to go with all my loan officers and find out what percentage of listing agents are getting calls. If one of their complaints is the listing agents aren't calling me back, kind of drill down, well, what's your scripting? And make sure that they're doing, I think, as close to exactly what Michelle's doing as possible. And then seeing if their results are different. If they're not doing an appraisal gap total cost analysis for every buyer, then they're not preparing that buyer for A, B, or C. Therefore, they're not optimizing that buyer's clarity and confidence. It's really that simple. If we can help a buyer optimize their clarity and confidence about their personal assumptions, that's doing our job. So let's, is there another, like, to me, those are the 2 best practices, but is there another thing that you're doing that you think is part of your secret for success?
No, other than just being a great listener and understand. I tell my team all the time, you know, the feel, felt, found is something I learned in the car business a long time ago. I understand how you feel. We say that a lot. Man, I totally understand how you feel. I get your frustration. I felt that way before. And I've even got some people on my team that have recently sold their house and are in the process of buying a house. So they can genuinely have that conversation. But let me just tell you what I found. And I just think that we've just got to have a lot of empathy for what our buyers and sellers are going through, what our agents are going through. My gosh, those guys are just exhausted.
Yeah.
And so that felt, found, and just having a lot of empathy and understanding where people are coming from, I think is super important for us while we're putting these strategies together. It's emotional management.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to just put another log on the fire of that. I interviewed Renee Rodriguez, who we've both been through Amplify this Tuesday. And he went through 10 things that he's learned and that he thought were important, 10 lessons in leadership from Renee Rodriguez. And I don't remember what number, I think it was number 7, which is listening needs to be a superpower. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's ever been more true than today. One more acronym. Do you remember Renee's LOVE process that we learned in Amplify? Mm-hmm. Listen.
Observe, right?
Observe, edify, or no, validate.
Validate.
Expand.
So
listen, observe, let them know that we heard you. Like, say something that edifies them, and then expand it. So tell me a little bit more about that. So that's another really good one.
And when you're talking about competition, yes, pricing matters, but I think that now, I always look at people's occupation, and I'm always looking at when they were born, because I want to kind of know what's this conversation need to look like or sound like. And I know, which ones I'm going to connect with, because, whether they're a knower, feel, or thinker. But in occupation, I think plays a lot into that. But so you get some that are just, you're engineers and whenever you do the apple to apples TCA or whatever, you just got a 50-50 shot, and they don't really care if you understand how they feel. It's all about the numbers, right? But I think that whenever you are up against competition, when you have taken the time to feel, felt, found, or you use the love and you validate, that matters. I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm not the cheapest in town. So if you're looking for the cheapest, then, let me know, because you don't spend a lot of time, because if cheap is what matters, it's not going to be me.
So let's break this down and let's go into wrap up mode.
Yep.
Deborah Bird just commented, because this is live in our Facebook group. She said, clarity plus confidence equals builds trust. Way to go. So that reminded me, I know Deborah and I would love to have you create a video for the Agent Advantage playlist. Is that something you're game for doing?
Hey, if Deborah's involved, I'm all in. And you know, I'd do anything for you, Dave. So yes.
Well, I want it to be for you too. We will get
Oh, I'll get value out of it and I'll have fun.
Yeah, we'll get thousands of realtors to watch this thing.
Yeah.
And so, and I know one of the takeaways from the Modern Real Estate Summit was that a lot of the realtors said, we really liked those, but it would have been cool if it was an agent and a loan officer.
Mhm.
They said it would have been more compelling to them. So are you game with making one and collaborating with one of your agents?
Absolutely.
Yes. All right, Mortgage Coach community, you heard it. We will have a video by the end of June. By the end of June, is that enough time? By the end of June from Michelle with an agent delivering a mortgage strategy. So let's close out with a mortgage strategy, because I know you've got a TPA.
Yeah.
Why don't you show us how you give the options? Like you mentioned it, walk us through what you're doing.
So the strategies, I just have a template that we put together that we can tweak and change from here. But the conversation is, I think it's super important that you understand what is someone's out-of-pocket limit. Because right now they're having to pay more for a house and a lot of the money is out of pocket. So I want them to know if they had to pay $250 for the house, but let's just say it appraised for $240. Now, instead of being able to put as much money down payment, maybe we shift so the out of pocket is still not any greater, but look and see, let's see what the payment change would be in the event that it only appraises for $240 and we have to shift their money around. So they're putting less money down and now they're having to pay a little bit out of pocket instead. Well, you know, we've got a couple of options then, and I always want to present more than just two options because I want someone to feel like they're being able to make a decision. So in that case, you know, another strategy would be, okay, people always say, oh, I'm putting 20% down because I don't want to pay mortgage insurance out of pocket. Well, let's look at a couple different options and even see, does it really matter that much? I mean, we're talking about a nominal amount of money difference. So by doing it this way, we can tell them, listen, it's okay if you have to pay $250 for the house and the house only appraises for $240. Are you okay with these figures? Knowing that this is what we hope might be the worst case scenario. Now, I mean, you may choose to go ahead and say, okay, what if the house only appraises for $230 and put those figures together and say, listen, are you still okay with these figures if in the event that's what happens once we get the appraisal back? Or if you're doing this and it's not even a property that they're ready to make an offer on, but they're having to look and see, okay, if I were to have to buy a house and pay $250, you know, the house is $250 and I have to pay $275 or I have to pay $285, what do those numbers look like? Being able to go in here and just put a TCA together, showing them really what is the real out-of-pocket difference and how can we still stay within their budget and not make a big shift or change in their monthly payments. And then just ask them the question, worst case scenario, are you still okay with these numbers?
Yeah.
And if they are, then you know you got a plan A, B, and C. You hope for A, you're okay with B. Worst case scenario, you go C and it's still okay.
So another to do for everyone listening to this is you need to make sure you have a strategy template. So in our advice engine, have a strategy template, call it appraisal gap or whatever you want. And you want to have that so that you can talk to realtors around it. You can talk to home buyers generically, conceptually about it. And then of course, when you want to like you had your appraisal gap strategy template and now you want to do one for the Smith family, you can just go copy and create another one. And now just update the loan amounts, update the rates, less than 2 minutes. You've got a personalized, localized, customized appraisal gap strategy in 2 minutes. So you've got your teaching one and you've got your personalized, localized one. Favor, will you share that total cost analysis, that appraisal gap TCA link? And if you're watching this in YouTube, we'll put a link down below. if you're watching it in Facebook. And if you want, like this is broadcasting live in our Facebook group, if you just want to put it in comments after we're done. But
Okay.
email it, text it, put it in comments, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
All right, let's see if there's any more questions or comments. Deborah said show, not tell. Realtor Glenn Bell, one of the speakers of Modern Real Estate event, said, hi guys. Deborah Bird, hey, Deborah's all over it. What's up, Deborah? We should like bring you on stage.
Yeah.
She said, have Corey do it with Michelle. So yeah.
Hey,
cool?
Deborah, hit him up.
Deborah, why don't you hit up Corey? It sounds like
I've already told him, so he just needs to hear it from you too, and then we'll get him.
Yeah, and if you guys want me to jump on it too, we'll hit him from 3 different directions. Corey, let's go.
I just tag him in the Facebook Live and he'll get it.
Yeah, no, we got to interview. It would be fun to do an interview with you, me, and Corey one time. Let's not overtax him right now. Let's just get this video. But at some point, Michelle, you do such a great job of leadership. I would love to, interview you and Corey together.
He'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we go into wrap up mode, anything else you want to make sure folks hear? And it can be something totally different. Like we talked about this. You got something else you want to share, but anything else you want to bring to the table right now?
No, I just think that it's super important for us right now just to understand it's not business as usual. And I think that it's really important that your real estate community knows and understands that you're in it to win it. You're not just there just to write pre-approval letters. You're really there to listen and learn what it takes to win each and every single time. Because golly, these poor agents are just worn out. So the more we can listen and learn on how to help them get that contract secured, the more they'll love us.
Yeah. Do you agree with this? I did an interview a few weeks ago, and actually it's come up like 3 times where I'm hearing top producers say it's never been easier to recruit new realtors because they're stressed. Most loan officers aren't prepared to help win the bidding award. They're just prepared to give pre-quals. Do you feel as a mortgage coach that you can recruit agents better right now?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm teaching a lot of classes. Like I wrote a class. I like to teach anyway, but there's a class that I want that was well attended, how to win the contract in a competitive market, or how to win the deal in a competitive market. Just helping agents or helping the realtors think outside of the box when they are making those offers. I mean, they need to be listening and paying attention. I mean, whenever they're showing the house, there's things that they could be specifically looking for to better understand what the seller needs are. So when they're structuring the contract is structured to benefit the seller. I mean, it's just sales 101. So, I mean, I think absolutely to your point. Yes.
Okay. So thank you for sharing the link. I got it. One last question. So one of the things we teach at Mortgage Coach is like, hey, let's say you help someone get it in escrow. Now it's in escrow. And now they're like, it's locked. And they're saying, but I can get it 3/8 lower somewhere else. What we teach is a lot of people would just either, oh, let me give you a price exception to keep it, do a dance and hope that the dance was good enough for them to say, that's good, I'll stick. You danced well. And then sometimes, I think always doing a dance is good because sometimes that's all you need to do and you keep the deal. But sometimes you put in, hey, here's what I have, here's what you have. And then you show the cost of that over 5 years. And in a lot of cases, especially for all your first time home buyers, it's less than $5,000. It's like $2,000 difference over 5 years. Mm-hmm. And once they hear like it's that amount of money over 5 years and they're committed, they just, okay, we don't need a price exception. And if it's over 5,000 over 5 years, instead of negotiating an 1/8 of a rate or 1/4 of a rate, you negotiate dollars. Like, hey, if I could get it from 8,000 over 5 years to 5,000 over 5 years or whatever, mm-hmm. And now you're giving a smaller price exception. Do you ever do that?
Yes. And the other thing, I'm not scared of the competition. Number one, if they're already under contract, my piece of advice is call your agent and make sure that is okay for you to even make a switch in your lender. Because right now, the seller could more than likely put that house right back on the market and get more for it now than what he could whenever you bought it 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, or whatever. And so, number one, you don't want to lose the deal because that could be very costly.
Right.
Number two, send me what someone else has already put together for you for figures and let me show you what the difference is. And I again, talking about the TCAs, making it super simple, I have one that we call apples to apples. So most of the time when the competitor is giving an LE to try to steal the deal from another lender, it's missing valuable information that's specific to the transaction. So you're not even comparing apples to apples. But what we have put together in our apples to apples is really stripping down our numbers to match the other lenders in the areas that they fake the third party fees. They know it's going to be higher, or maybe they just aren't familiar with the area. Strip it down, show them apples to apples, lender fee to lender fee, cost of the loan, very little difference. But where they are misleading you is in this area, and here's the real numbers. And this is why it looks like it's a bigger deal than it is. So I think that transparency is super important, because typically in that case, there's not transparency unless you show it to them. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. I love that apples to apples idea. That's super good. So let's go into wrap up mode. You've been amazing. Remember, guys, if you get rate shopped and you didn't do a total cost analysis, you have two options: price exception, dance. If you use Mortgage Coach, you can still do those two exceptions, but now you can do the apples to apples, and you can educate them. You can show transparency to them. And what I hear in Mortgage Coach land, if it's less than 5,000 over 5 years, you're not given an exception. So managers, make sure your loan officers know how to have the appraisal gap conversation, and make sure they know how to negotiate when they're getting grinded. Cool. Let's close out with, because there's a lot of new loan officers still getting in the business and watching Mortgage Coach. That's how they're learning the mortgage business. Any words of advice for a new loan officer getting started right now?
Have confidence that you really are the expert. And sometimes that confidence comes with practice. So if it means going in there and practicing with numbers and running different scenarios so that you can speak with confidence when you're talking to your clients, they need you to be on their side to win it. And that takes confidence. So if you aren't confident in what you're saying or doing, then practice until you are. I can't express the importance of having confidence right now. People want to be led. They need your help.
Michelle, you are a gift to the Mortgage Coach community. I really appreciate your friendship. I always appreciate, you taking time to give back here. If you're listening to this, you got value, give it a like down below. There is a link to Michelle's Appraisal Gap TCA down below. Also, listen to the Appraisal Gap conversations in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. I want to remind everybody, actually, before we leave, I am just going to pull this up because I think it's so important, guys. One of the resources that we created for the Modern Real Estate Summit is we created this new playlist called the Agent Advantage playlist. And all year long, we're going to be adding more videos to this. And every single one of these videos, one, it's a top producer. Two, so far, they're all grandmasters. That means they've done over 1,000 TCAs. And three, they're presenting to a group of realtors. They're not saying, hey, I'm with X mortgage company. They're like, hey, I'm a mortgage coach. And they're teaching and sharing a strategy that helps a realtor. So all of these are actual realtors. So one, if you're on this call and you haven't listened to these, super important that you do. And then two, have your own version. Like, I asked Michelle to create one for the community, but she should create one for herself too, like where she sells, she's influencing and selling. So those are my closing thoughts. Michelle, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Your YouTube videos, that playlist you just showed is so valuable. And I've been sharing that within my real estate community itself, and they love it. So thanks for that. Give back to them.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. And hey, one last thing. Did you watch much of the Modern Real Estate Summit?
I've been watching it bits and pieces and then using that for reteach material. So,
Ooh, reteach material. So are you gonna keep kind of using that? And
oh, it's for sure. Yeah. So we're back into the offices doing real estate. We're back in the real estate offices and teaching again. And yes, those little playlists, I've just been showing them on the big screen and using that as a springboard to teach.
there you go, reteaching, use them as a springboard to talk. And we are going to start selling the 1 year pass to that June 1st.
Good.
For anybody that attended the event, we extended it beyond the 30 days. So you can still use those as a springboard. And if you want to use them all year, you'll get an opportunity to sign up for the 1 year pass.
Yep.
Anyways, take care, Michelle. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
See you. Bye.